Well, hello and welcome to Late Night FM. It's Christian. Happy to be with you to talk about the Black Crowes and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this time around. And I've spent the week just replying to comments about the Black Crowes and about the Rush post. The Rush post has really taken off, and I appreciate that. And I can tell you the last week in my world has been talking about Annika Nilles and Neil Peart. Look at that. I should just stop right there because people who've been following a little bit of my post on Annika, or now maybe some people will come back and say it's Annika. Annika Nilles. All right. And I know this because there were some fans of Rush in Germany who helped me with the pronunciation. Now, with the Neil Peart stuff, this goes back to when I was a kid in Baltimore, pre-internet. We called him the wrong thing, and I think a lot of people have been very gracious in the same experience. We've been saying it wrong for years, and then in the internet age, we were able to clear that up. But welcome to Late Night FM. This is a project that is pretty new. It's pretty new, and I'm feeling like I've found what I should be doing. And I appreciate you for checking it out. What I do now usually is I'll start by writing. I'll write an article about an experience I had in music or radio or just a thought I'm having. And it'll start on Substack. And then I'll put that out. And you know, it's a handful of people that are there. I'm much appreciative of the folks that are finding the written word. And then I'll go on to record a shorter video about that topic. This week just happens to be the Black Crowes. And the second time around with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and them not making it in. And I just wanted to make a case because I don't understand all that goes into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's decision. You know, and when I put out this short video stating, along with the article, that they've sold over 30 million records. They've been active since 1990. I feel their influence was a bridge between what was happening in the late 80s, which was, you know, we had a lot of synthesizer-based music. We had some hair bands. We had Guns N' Roses, which was my favorite part of that late 80s movement. That was rock and roll. Still a little spandex, but a little more rock and roll. The Black Crowes come around in 1990, and I feel that they maybe not reset things, but they were a bridge between blues-based rock and roll, maybe something you'd hear in the 70s from Zeppelin, you know, that kind of thing. And they were ushering in a brand new era, which would go on to become the grunge era. You know, I don't necessarily consider grunge anything more than rock and roll. It's all rock and roll. You know, it's that era and that style of music, more like a period for me than a, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, we'll write. I post out the video. People start to send in their comments, and then I'll do something like this, which is a video and audio podcast where I share your comments and thoughts. And, you know, getting back to the Black Crowes, they've had hits. Remedy, She Talks to Angels, Hard to Handle, which is a great cover song. Thorn in My Pride. And I just didn't know the criteria. What does it mean? If it's record sales, they've got that. If it's hits, they've got that. They've endured. They did take a chunk of time off, notoriously fighting with one another. But so did Oasis. Oasis took time off. They notoriously fought. I'm sure they were prickly with their management at times. Maybe the industry as a whole. I can't speak to this. See, I wasn't there for all of that. Although I did interview Chris Robinson when I was at WMMR in Philadelphia. I covered the Brotherly Love tour in Philadelphia. That happened to be co-headlined with Oasis. Oasis was nominated in 26, and they're going in. The Black Crowes are not. So the purpose of this is to share some of your comments, what I'd like to ultimately do with Late Night FM, which is really more about the vibe, right? People of a certain age, Gen Xers, maybe some millennials, and certainly our boomers remember the impact of radio. And I love radio ever since I was 8 years old. So Late Night FM to me is a vibe. You'd hear all sorts of different kind of things happening at night, whether it was out in the desert or it was Larry King or Dr. Drew, whatever you were listening to. Late Night FM is the vibe. And we will definitely be going heavy on music, and I'll be sharing stories of music and my time in radio, in, on, and around it for the last 30 plus years. However, I'd like for this to be a two-way conversation, and we can achieve this through, in some part, on the tubes and on IG, because you can comment there, and I can comment back, and we can have a dialogue there. Ultimately, and I'll share this stuff here, as many as I can. There's quite a few, just on the Black Crowes alone. 94 comments as I record this. And I feel like that one's just heating up, but they tend to fall in a few buckets, and I'm gonna talk about those as we go. So be sure to comment, and I will share those on the podcast. There you have it. No sponsors at this point. We're just getting started. It's just completely independent, bringing it to you because I love music. I'm a music lover. I also love coffee, and I love talking about music and radio and the things that happen in our lifetime, which is culture. All right. I'm a Gen Xer, so it has that lens. Thank you for allowing me the grace to take a sip of coffee. I love it. Ideally now, I would like to do this as a live show, almost like real Late Night FM radio would be done. We could stream it to the tubes. That I know for sure. I think we need to build up a little bit more. I consistently give it to you a little bit more, so to speak. And we can pick a day where this happens. I'd even go daily. I would go daily for you. So anyway, we're here. And so if you don't mind, I've got something I would like for you to do for me, if you will.
An assignment? Yeah.
An assignment. One of my favorite movies is Almost Famous. And drops like this. Listen.
I am the enemy.
Yeah. So, love that. If you're a fan of Almost Famous, I'm right there with you. Look for the Substack. The links are in the bio here. Wherever you're seeing this, you should be able to navigate toward the written thing. If you like to read, like get up on Sunday morning, cup of coffee. I'm trying to write about certain things. We're on the IG, we're on the tubes. And you can listen, take it with you wherever you're subscribing to your podcast. Okay, look for a Late Night FM with your boy. My name's Christian with a Polish last name. That's why I'm sensitive to Annika Nilis and Neil Peart. Mine's easy. Kudnik. It just looks a little harder. It's Polish. I get it. Let's dive into some of these comments now that you're thinking about subscribing in those areas, and I appreciate you. Let's go over to the tubes first. Again, we're talking about the Black Crowes, their induction or non-induction. They were nominated twice to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sadly, they did not. And I have to navigate my way back. This is a little tricky, but I think I can do this. We'll start over on the IG, the comments. On your screen, if you're listening to this, you can go back and watch it on the tubes if you like. Everything falls under my name. I think they have that influence. They've got the record sales, and they've had a sustained career. That's my jumping off point. My friend Matt says, preach, brother. One of my all-time favorites. Sleevey 421 says, Black Crowes are such a throwback with a lot of soul. Seen them 35 to 40 times. Great duo. Chris is a great frontman, and Rich is a talented artist. They absolutely should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. William says it's because they are real talent. Today, too many people don't know what true talent is. All right, so again, This goes back a little bit to they were unique in the way that they came out. They took the blues. They held on to this kind of blues and the rock and the soul and R&B. Chris has soul coming out his a-hole. I know. Don't let your kids hear that. But it's true. And they didn't change. They stayed the same. And maybe that was all part of this decision. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. We have a lot of comments that I'd like to go through here. Let's see. I had no idea why they wouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's other people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that have not accomplished as much as the Black Crowes. They have all the credentials to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not sure why they wouldn't be. Don't see any reason for it. Now, we also start to get into this thing where you're dealing with other bands. And I want to be careful here. I'm not trying to throw shade on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All the artists that get in, I appreciate it. I'm happy for them. It's when my artists, particularly Pearl Jam, took a long time, and then you start going, but this band made it in before this band and this one's still not in it. Devo, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, this sort of thing is happening quite a bit in this post. So my idea is not to be anything other than focused on why, in a world where the Black Crowes have seemingly giving you what you need and what the criteria should be, why aren't they? The Black Crowes on late night. Let me go ahead and stop that. You don't want to hear that. So this is what live radio would be like. Someone looking around off to the side a little bit. Let me give you these quick comments mentioning Emerson, Lake and Palmer. We've got Devo. Let's see, 1971, Hayes says Black Crowes should be a shoo-in for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not sure why this is even an issue. Gen X here, and I remember when they first came out and had all of their albums. Robin says, "Oh, the Black Crowes on late." Stop with that. You get to hear me. I'm double dipping. I need you to be quiet. Let's just turn you down. Let's turn you off. Now we don't have to worry about it. Apologies. 100% with you on this. I see they don't get in, and see some of the people who have absolutely nothing to do with rock and roll getting in, and it bums me out. And it goes on to mention artists that are not technically in rock and roll per se. And I don't want to give them, I like Sade, Luther Vandross. Come on, this is all good stuff. It's not that. It's what is the criteria, and maybe, just maybe, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should say, this is because of A, B, and C. It's not record sales. They've checked this box. They've checked it. I hate this whole scenario with checking boxes. But ticket sales, record sales, radio plays, the hits, the longevity, whatever, it all seems to be there. Tell us why you did not pick them for the second time around. Okay. Moving on to some of your comments now on IG, and thank you for participating here. I hope you're getting something out of this. Let's see. Donna says they deserve much more than simply being nominated. Induct already. How many artists still produce substantial hits over decades? These guys are talented. True fan support will keep nominating them. Now, in some regards, I agree with this. There was a time when the Dave Matthews Band and others, I believe Fish, they won the fan vote, yet they did not get in. And Dave Matthews ultimately did. I imagine Fish will ultimately get in as well. But she's right. Thank you, Donna. Let's see. Photo Wagner. Could be the long gap of performing. Too many fights, out of the limelight, some real negative interviews, etc. This is a real one now. Now we're getting into music politics, again, which I can't speak to. When I interviewed Chris Robinson, I was at the mighty WMMR. It was Market 5 at the time. This was a big rock station. Everybody was coming there to do it. And there's many others. Keishi, NEW, other big ones In major markets, you're going to see the artist. He was not pretentious. He was not a dick or any of this stuff to me. We talked about the landscape that he was working within. We had fun, good conversation, and I loved covering the concert over in Camden, New Jersey. I think that was 2001. We'll have to look that up. The Brotherly Love Tour with Oasis, 2001, Camden, New Jersey. We'll send it back to the office there at headquarters and see when that was. Moving on, the gap in performance, that also happened with Oasis. You know what I mean? So as for somebody going in, somebody who's toured with this band, they also had gaps. They were also fighting. Moving on. With who they do let in, is it a club really even that you'd want to be in? I think I got most of the words there, right? Yes, I have found that there seem to be artists who are kind of like, yeah, whatever, we know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, come on. But when they make it, it's an honor, right? They feel honored to be there. And Chris Robinson has told Billboard magazine that he's honored to be considered nominated. Craig is the one who brought up Fish. He said they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, although they did get nominated for the class of 2025 and overwhelmingly won the public fan vote by a wide margin, not chosen for induction. Kuhn says should be in. JD says short peak, a couple of good albums followed by a quick drop off and not really impactful sense. Now, I don't know if I agree totally with that. Doug says I'm still disappointed every time UFO gets overlooked. Got a point. Let's see. We're moving on down the line here. Somebody said good. They're happy that they didn't make it in. Drop Frame says the Crows are fantastic. I've seen them 4 times. Venture says I completely agree. They are true through and through rock and rollers. Tawny says, right. The Jekyll, agree with all of that, except I don't get the blues reference at all. Even Poison had blues songs. I can't think of a single Crows blues song. So this one here, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. I'm talking about the style of music, and I need that light to just get, oh my God, something a little too dark here. Maybe I can do this, get a little more light on myself. Golly. You listening in the car? Sorry, but I'm putting myself in the dark over here with these, with the light situation. The blues, I mean, we had a lot of keyboard synthesizer-based music. Even really great artists were dipping into synthesizers in the 80s. In the late 80s, we had spandex and hair bands and teased hair and makeup and all this sort of stuff. Then we had Guns N' Roses, which I kind of all the hair bands, I mean, I liked a little bit of Bon Jovi as well. But Guns N' Roses, they had that rock thing. They had blues. Slash plays a lot of blues styling. It was into their music. You get the Black Crowes, you got blues, soul, R&B, and it's pouring out of them. This is what I mean. It's not that other bands are void of blues. Rock and roll was built on the back of the blues. Artists like Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, all of this comes from the blues. We can talk about the blues as we go. I'm happy to do it. Your point about other bands like Poison having blues in their music, I'm not debating it. I'm not familiar with everything in their catalog, but I'm saying there was more of a let's get back to this. With the Black Crowes, they held firm. From that fertile blues ground, started to sprout up even other things, and then we had the grunge movement coming out of the Pacific Northwest, which Pearl Jam is a big part of my life. Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana, going back to Heart, Jimi Hendrix, all this sort of stuff. Hendrix, again, based in the blues. So I think the Black Crowes helped us kind of reset ourselves back into what was happening a little bit more into the 70s in rock and roll. That's my point. You dig? All right, let's go back over and see if we can get a few of these, and then I'll let you move on about your day. Music politics. This came up from Capone John. And, I think that's what we could be dealing with there is music politics. If they were complicated to work with, if they weren't digging the marketing that the label was putting out, if they weren't hip to doing all the tours or weren't really interested in releasing, you know what I'm saying? This is all stuff where they were holding on to their artist integrity. Perhaps it was something that bled into these decisions. You have these men in suits who may not or may have artist sensibilities. They may want to pick a different direction for an artist, and the Black Crowes may have been not willing to. I can see that happening. Other comments. What about the Cult? Again, another band that you can make the case for. Let's see. Little Feat, not in there. Talking about that. How about Jay Giles? We got a lot of great referrals. Like, here's one by Rob. It's travesty. I don't know if it's a travesty, but I can say it just doesn't add up to me, and that's okay. I'm just one guy with some of you who are believing the same. He said, here's Nick. Nick says, I'm not seeing this one. Their can you guys say that word? Their discography. Whew. Now, it's recorded live. I'm not going back to edit. Isn't strong enough to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They are 38 special. Solid band with a few good songs, but not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy. Several bands from the 90s haven't got in that were far more impactful. Smashing Pumpkins, Alice in Chains, No Doubt, Garbage, and not to mention In Excess is still waiting. And they used to sell out Wembley and have sold more albums than all of these bands. And that is a great point. It is a great point. I love In Excess. Every band he mentioned, I love it. I want them all to go in. And I think in the end, as I don't hold you too long to this, because we're just getting started and I want this to be more of a conversation. And if I can record this and live stream it, technically we can. I can bring people in. I will interview people. Enjoy doing that for many, many years. I can bring you in as a caller to come up and talk to me, and let's make some points together. Love all the things that are being said. Some people feel, Chris Robinson, quote, was an asshole. Okay. Maybe he said some things. Maybe he did some things. I only met him in a professional working environment. I don't know. I've read some things he could have been. Maybe I'm an asshole too, right? But you got to separate the work or the artist from the art. I'll put it that way. Sometimes you have to separate them. You may not agree with them politically. You may like their music. You may think that wasn't cool. I remember when Duran Duran, back in the 80s, I loved them. And they said something about a new band that I loved a whole lot, REM. And they said something to the effect that I thought, well, that wasn't cool. And it caused a little division in my love for Duran Duran. I've since found my way back and like it and play it when I can. They've got some great songs. Artists, they say different things. They do different things. Yes, he may have been, may not have been. But can we separate the art from the artist? And if we do that, do they make it then? And in the end, I would just love to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame maybe have an accountability that would say, listen, they have been nominated twice. They're not going to make it in again this year. And here's why. And if they just said, I think Chris is an asshole, that's at least something, right? I feel that every year I'm left with the feeling of, what else did they need to do to make it? Why can't Devo get in? What, you know what I mean? So that's where I am. And if that's where you are, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. I think that is the spirit, not of just of late night FM, but it's the spirit of this. It's the spirit of radio. There, cue the Rush reference. But late night FM to me means that we can talk about anything we want to talk about. We can be civil, we can be friendly, we can be fans. We can dip in and out of conversations. If it's not our cup of tea, that's all right. It's all good. If you have ideas and thoughts and suggestions, guests that you would like to have on, I'm just getting started and I'm really having a good time. And it's because it's a two-way dialogue. It's you and me, okay? And we can bring anybody else in that wants to hang out and talk music and talk radio when radio is this and that and what it can be. And the times that we live in, which is indeed culture. I'm on the tubes, I'm on IG, I'm on Substack. You can listen to this wherever you get podcasts. You can watch it on those other outlets, IG, the tubes, and you can read about it on Substack. And I hope that you will provide your comments and your thoughts. It helps push us out there to more like minds. I'm just doing this by myself right now. At some point, maybe we'll have Gibson guitars or Fender or drums and cymbals. I don't know. Right now, it's just me and it's you. Share it out. If you have a question, comment, thought, something that might be fun that reminds you of old school radio days, send me an email. I'm at Christian@latenightfm.com. That's Christian@latenightfm.com. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a wonderful week. Again, leave your comments and let me know what you're thinking. It inspires ideas. Oh, they've started to come in now, right? And it's about, we should do something where we talk about the songs and break songs down, break records down, talk about vinyl. All of that is possible, and I hope you're here for it if that sounds like something that resonates. The easiest, cheapest thing you can do is give us a thumbs up, give us a follow, give us a subscription on any of those things I mentioned. And for now, and until then, good day.